Hello everyone. In this video I'll give you a quick tour and overview about the B360 commercial tool in Reonic. Where can you find the commercial tool? So it's basically alongside the residential tool in offers, in requests and in installations. So it's basically just a separated part for offer generation and sales funnel. To give you a quick overview, I have created a test planning already, so we can find this under offer, in commercial, and then here the test planning. The great stuff is that many parts of the residential tool can also be found in the commercial tool. So you don't need to learn an entire new system here. It's basically just giving you more depth in certain simulation parts and obviously more flexibility when it comes to commercial use cases. We can just open up this project here real quick and I'm met with the first real change that we have in the B360 part, which is the energy layout, basically the equivalent to the planning part in the residential. How does this differ to what we have in the other parts and how does it work in general? So basically this is combining energy flows and the components that you plan all in one. So you can basically see here on the left the producers, which most likely will be the PV system. In this case I've already created one for this use case. And the cool thing is that you can add multiple PV systems, multiple producers if you want. What could it be next to a PV system? I mean, you can use a generic production profile here, so you could account for a wind turbine or any other production facility that generates energy. So super convenient for more complex use cases. And opposite of this, on the other side, you see the electricity demand. You can also add multiple demands here. So let's presume you have a production facility and an office building that you would consider in one energy layout. So you can just add another consumer here. Within this, you can basically also account for load profiles. So we'll do a deep dive on this, but you can actually upload load profiles via a Excel or CSV file, or you can just create a new one based on generic data that you have. So we can just show this here real quick. Left here would be the import button when you want to upload from a CSV or Excel file, and on the right side here you can actually shape your load profile the way you want it on a year's basis, and in here also on a daily timestamp basis, and this will then be taken into account for the simulation afterwards. As I said, we'll do deep dive videos on all of these topics, as this is just an overview. The cool thing is as well, I mean, grid and battery storage work quite similarly. For battery, you can just add battery components or simulate a battery storage just by giving it a few input values. Basically, you would do this, let's just delete this here for now. Basically, you would just do this via the pre-planning. That will be just the simulation values, or the detailed planning if you want to use components in here. Pre-planning, as we can see, a few values to be taken into account here. You can define a price per watt hour, and obviously size and behavior of the battery. And this is then fully simulated as well, so quite cool. Next up would be a grid connection. You can use commercial or residential grid connections, basically taking into account all the prices that you have and the different structures of how electricity is built. And yeah, as I said earlier, the solar component is behaving very similar to what we have in the residential part. Basically, we just plan bigger systems in here, and yeah, I've already did the string planning for this building here, so this is why it's so colorful. But obviously, it works and behaves very similar to what we are already familiar with when it comes to residential 3D planning. What is different as well? I mean, after we've finished here our energy layout, We do have a part list and subsidies section where we can see all the components that we've planned. If we scroll down, we have subsidies and also recurring costs that we can account for, which is super nice. So something like a bank loan or just a recurring cost that we want to account for can be done here. And I would say the biggest differentiator between residential and commercial is the simulation part, which is a whole lot deeper and gets into more detail. So this is built up by giving us an overview on a few KPIs that we have with the system that we've designed. We do have energy relevant simulation. This is quite similar to what we have in the residential part. But from the energy flows, we can also jump into the spectrogram review, which is absolutely fantastic. So it takes into account every time of the day for an entire year. So we can scroll down here and have it until the 31st of December. And you can basically see the different time slots here throughout the day and the corresponding load, energy load that you have. And the cool thing is that you compare. The left side is showing you what it looks like before the PV system and battery storage system was installed, and the right shows it how it looks afterwards. So you can basically see that it flattens out because the more yellowish and reddish colors indicate a high load, that the system can even out, especially during the summertime, a whole lot of the consumption, and is basically therefore helping us to reduce energy costs. This graphic will later also be available in the proposal. So very cool, very visually exciting for an end client to see this. Apart from the energy flows and the spectrogram, we have financial points of the simulation. So obviously break-even analysis, but also more detailed cash flow and investment analysis. So you can go to cash flow and investments and have it as a table view. Also looking at a comparison of scenario A and scenario B, so before and after. And also a cash flow and investment analysis on a yearly basis. You can also export this at every time and use this to make your financial calculation here. And lastly, we would then create the proposal for the client, obviously importing our legal texts, price display, and then we can say, hey, create the PDF for me, please. And I'll just go in the overview mode here, as we'll do a deep dive on the PDF in another video. But basically what we have planned here is corresponding to our PDF. Obviously, we didn't plan a lot of components, only the module and the inverter. This will be a bit longer. You can do more when it comes to showing graphs. But yeah, if you want to download or send this to a client, you just click next here and either save this to files in your planning here or download. And yeah, that's basically a quick overview. The parts that I skipped here was the checklist part and the general overview part, which is very similar to what we have in the residential system, but we'll do deep dives on this as well. Hope you've enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.